In this lecture, let's see different ways in which we can display the date picker. Till now, we have been seeing only one way, that is, when the input element gets focus, the date picker is displayed, and when it loses focus, the date picker is hidden. So there are a couple more ways to display the date picker. Instead of displaying it like an overlay, you can display it as if it is embedded on the page. For that, you just have to change the input element to a div element. So div id, okay, and now let's see, refresh, see, now it is like as if it is embedded on the page itself. Instead of displaying it like an overlay, it is like embedded on the web page itself. So when you select a date, there is no way to see that date as if in the input element, right? So one thing you can do is that you can have the on select option, on select. This will be called when a date is selected. So it is a function actually with date as a string, so date string, and date picker as an object. So using this function, what we can do, we can display the date selected actually. So let me add a div element, div id equal to result, and within this we can update the value of the div element. So $hash result dot html, let me specify you selected plus date string. This will give us the date as a string. So let's see the output, save, refresh. Let me click 17th. See, you selected 8/17/2016. That is, 8 is month, 17 is date, and 2016 is year. So just by changing the input element to a div element like this, you can display the date picker as an inline element. Instead of as an overlay element, you can display the calendar as an inline element by just changing the input element to a div element. So this is one way of displaying the date picker, that is as it is embedded on the web page itself. Let me change it back to input element itself. Okay, now I have changed it back to the input element. So by default, the date picker gets displayed when this input element gets focus. Suppose we want to display the input element on the click of a button. So what you can do is, we can have another option named show on, and if you specify its value as button, let's see what happens. Let me refresh. See, you are seeing a button here. So as I have specified the value as button, only if you click on the button, the date picker will appear. So let me try to click inside the input element. See, nothing happens. Instead, if I click on this button, the date picker appears. And I can have some text on the button. So button text is the name of the option. And let me type it as open calendar. Let me refresh. See, open calendar, and if I click on that, the date picker appears. Suppose I want to display the date picker even if I click inside the input element. So instead of button, I can set the value of show on to be both, which means the date picker will be displayed even if I click on the button or if I click inside the input element. That is, even if this gets focus. So let's refresh. Let me now click. See, it is appearing. Let me click on the button. Still it is appearing. Which means if I set the value of show on to be both, the date picker will appear even if I click on the button or if the input element gets focus. Suppose I specify the value of show on to be focus. What will happen? The button will disappear. So let's see that. Refresh. See, the button itself is disappeared. So the show on can have three values. In fact, they are focus, button, and both. Focus means button will not be there. Button means the date picker will be displayed only if we click on the button. And both means the date picker will be displayed either when the input element gets focus or the button is clicked. Now the button text is used to set the text for the button. Now we can display an image instead of the text. So we can use another option, it is button image, and I have already downloaded an icon of a calendar. It is there in the same folder where this calendar types.html lies. So the name is calendar.png. So I am setting button image to be calendar.png, and let me change this to both. Otherwise the button will not appear, which means as the image is part of the button, that image also will not appear. So let me save, refresh. See, this is the icon and it is actually displayed within a button, right? This is only the icon. There is some gray background. It is the button. So we want to display only the image. Then I can specify button image only to be true, which means that gray background will not be there. So let's see that. See, only the icon is appearing. So even if I click on this icon or inside this text box, the date picker will be displayed. Why? We have set the value of show on to be both. Suppose I specify show on to be button, what will happen? If I click inside this, nothing will happen. On the other hand, if I click on the image, the date picker will be displayed. So here we have used two options to display the image and to display only the image, not the button. They are button image and button image only. So let me type different options we have discussed in this lecture till now. They are, one is on select, because we used this to see the date selected when we displayed the date picker as an inline element. That is when we change the input element to a div element. So instead of displaying it as an overlay, the date picker will be displayed as an inline element. So we use the onSelect function, which has two parameters, date string and date picker object. So we have seen this onSelect. Then we have seen show on, which can have three values actually, focus, button or both. Okay. Then we have seen button text, which will be the text on the button. Then we have seen button image, which should be the path to the image. Then we have also seen button image only, which means only the image will be displayed, not the button. Okay. Now there is one more way to display the date picker. It is as a dialog. So dialog is actually a method offered by jQueryUI's date picker widget. So we just have to specify dialog and let's see what happens. Let me save, refresh. See, it appears as a dialog. Now this dialog can have four different parameters. The first one is date, which is the default date. Then the second one is the callback function, which will be executed when a date is selected. Third is some additional options. And the fourth is position of the dialog. So suppose I don't want to set any default date, I can specify null. Then I want to execute a function when the date is selected. It is same as the onSelect callback function. So it will have date string and date picker object as the parameters. Okay. So I want to display the date. So let me try alert date string. So this will display the selected date. Then the third parameter is some additional options. I don't want any additional option. And the fourth one is the position. So let me specify the position as 50-50. Now it is displayed at the center, right? So let me save this, refresh. See, it is displayed at 50-50. This is the 50-50 point. Let me select a date, 17th. See, 8/17/2016, because we have specified here the second parameter is the callback function, which will be executed when a date is selected. So that date is displayed. Suppose we want to display message like you selected, and let me also change the position to 150-50. Okay, let's see the change. Let me refresh. See, it is changed to this place. Let me select 10th. See, you selected 8/10/2016. Suppose instead of displaying it as a message, if I want to display it within this input element, what should I do? Instead of this, I can specify $calendar.val. I need to change the val to date string. Now let's see, save, refresh. Let me select 18th. See, 8/18/2016. This dialog is actually a method which has 4 parameters. The first one is the default date. The second one is a callback function to be executed when a date is selected. The third one is additional options. You can specify like duration or animation options like that. Then the fourth one is the position of the dialog. So let me add that as well. So dialog. Okay. So in this lecture, we have actually seen many different ways in which we can display a date picker. The first one is displaying it as an inline element. Second one is displaying the date picker on the click of a button. Third is displaying the date picker on the click of an image. And the fourth is displaying the date picker as a dialog. So these are the 4 different ways in which you can display the date picker.